What's going on, everyone? It's the After the Snow podcast back at you. Another episode, another week. Your co-host, Dave Mays, and alongside me, the one and only.
Freeway Ricky Ross.
No question.
What's up, Dave?
Rick, what's the word?
Man, we back at it again.
Yeah, man. That's what we do. We're getting
No doubt.
Getting a good rhythm going.
Yes. Busy again this weekend, man. Another busy weekend. I was in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Tell us about the Lou. How they doing
Big
out
turnout. A lot of good fights. Saw a couple guys that I really like. Hopefully I can get them signed up, help them with their career, get them moving forward.
Excellent.
But it was really nice, man. I had a great time in the Lou. Saw some old friends from high school.
Okay.
The Lou was the first place that ever arrested me for selling drugs.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was the first place that ever arrested me for selling drugs. So
how did that happen and when?
I think that might have happened like 84, 83. I went down there and, kilos were selling for like 64,000 a kilo. So I was going to make the Lou home.
Oh, that's what they were paying in St. Louis, 64,000. Wow.
Yeah, that was good money. I was killing the game with that one. So I got me a little condo down there, was gonna move in and had a little incident. The cops in LA raided my girl's house and she was crying and even though I got her right out of jail, she was still crying and wanted me to come home. So I still had about 4 kilos left, when that happened down in St. Louis. And I was keeping them, I used to keep all my dope in the trunk of a car. But my boy who I'm down there with, his dad had saw the car I was driving. It was just a bucket, something I just got just for right there.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad saw the car and he just loved the car, right? So I said, well, man, when I finish with it, you can have this car. So when I jump on the plane and go back to Cali, my boy take the 4 kilos that I had left in the trunk of the car out the car and put them in his house. And then he had a partner that played for the St. Louis Cardinals at the time. And the dude called him for an ounce of cocaine and he was setting him up with the police. So the police wound up raiding his house. They thought they were just raiding for 1 ounce of cocaine. But then when they searched the house, they found 4 kilos. So, all hell broke loose.
Man. So you ended up getting charged. Were you able to beat that, or what happened?
Oh, yeah. I beat that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I beat the case. That was no question. They didn't have no evidence on me. Only thing they had on me was a plane ticket. I had a plane ticket that I had left in his house with my name on it. And, so that threw me on the indictment. But he stood up. He went to court, stood up, took his charges. Took everything, and everything worked out for me. But it was the first time that the feds had ever arrested me. Period.
Oh, so it was a federal. So the feds were in St. Louis like that, like trying to,
Well, when you bring me involved in California and bringing it from California to St. Louis,
right.
they just, all that stuff just comes to play. So,
Right.
But anyway, it was kind of like a homecoming for me, going back to St. Louis.
Yeah, good.
I really like the place. I like the people. A lot of cool folks, and treated me with a lot of love down there. So sold a few books, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it was a great time overall. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait to go back.
Okay.
Shout out to the Lou. The promoter Dave put on a great fight. Me and him are looking forward to doing some things in the future. And like I said, there's 4 fighters that I'm really interested in signing up.
Okay.
If at all possible. So that was my weekend this weekend, man.
All right. We were here in Chicago. Summertime Shy is kicking off here finally. This is when things get, much more exciting and lively in Chicago. And we were out on the lake Saturday night. They have fireworks out there every Saturday night, and a friend of ours took us out on their boat to watch the fireworks. That was pretty nice for me and Brett. And yeah, we were out on the river walk the night before, which is a real nice area where the river runs through the middle of downtown. And yeah, man. So
You gonna be home on the 25th? I know I'm gonna be there on the 25th. We got an expungement clinic going on there again, so I'll be back in Chicago on the 25th. I think 25th, 26th.
okay,
We'll be there doing expungement clinics. You know, where we help people get their records clean.
okay. I should be here, so I want to come out and join you when you do that here.
That'll be dope. That'll be dope. I'll be glad to have you out. You know, anytime we get to kick it is always because you know we be going like.
All right.
You know, we
All right.
be crossing each other in the air, man.
All right. Right. Well,
But
I'll be here. I go to LA on the 26th or the 27th. So I'm hoping you'll be back in LA after that. I don't know.
yeah. I'm gonna just do Chicago, and then I'm coming straight back. I should be here until the Essence. I'm going to the Essence Festival this year.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down there and sell some books.
Mhm. Yeah. New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans. See what that's like, man.
Have you been to Essence Fest?
Never been there, but I've been to New Orleans a few times. I love New Orleans. You know, I
Yeah.
got some great friends there. I also got a couple fighters, that I work with down there. Alvin Vermeer out of there, and another guy that I've been talking to, Silk, uh, great fighter. You know, I'm hoping that me and him can do some business.
Okay.
I'm really getting heavy in this fight game, man. This thing is really, really picking up, Dave.
Yes. It's exciting to see it happen, man.
And I'm enjoying it. You know, just
Yeah.
um, fighting is it's a brutal sport. You know, real brutal. It's for people who like to see blood and like to see two guys go at it, man, and see who's the most dominant. So I'm cool with that part of it. But what I really like is the people in the game. You know, the ones that I believe I'm gonna be able to help.
Hmm. Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Glad that's moving forward, and you building momentum with that. So you know, waiting for
Yes,
your first.
yes.
Waiting for
You
your
ready to get on
first.
with this show, man? That's enough
Yeah.
about what I've been doing, man. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but I just been excited, man. You know, life has been so good. Coming from where I come from, man. When you've been sitting up in them boxes and you can't do nothing, and now you're out here and you're really getting to see the fruits of your labor, materialize. It's a wonderful thing, man. So
Yeah.
I just be excited.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Snowfall season 1, episode 7 we're up to. So we're getting, into the final stages of the first season. The title of this episode is Cracking. So this is a pivotal episode where they go to Oakland and they discover crack and how to make it. So we want to talk about that, but that's really the
Been some
big.
interesting stuff happening in here, man. This guy Franklin, man. Either he's naive or the fucker's heart is as big as the Empire State Building, man. Because he be doing some. He be all over the place, man.
But
This dude takes so many chances, man. Like he does stuff that we never would have done in the dope game. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
nowhere do you do some of the things that he's done.
he stays walking around with a backpack full of kilos by himself all over the country, wherever.
Don't know nobody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He ain't got a clue where he's going. And, he's just off, man. And but one of the things that really got me and And this is the last episode that we watched, and I just can't stop thinking about, like, there's no black that lives in LA would have went to East LA trying to sell a Mexican gang no cocaine
Right.
without an introduction. I mean,
Right.
you can go to those places, but you can't go over there just like no random motherfucker pulling up in their
Right.
hood, man. That just don't happen, man.
Right. Right.
Anybody, and that's why I say he had to be naive, but his heart just had to be, he should have had him a bazooka in the car.
you would think he had that everywhere. The way he goes around, man, it's
Yeah, man. I mean, and then the guy already told him that they killed his partner. Like, he should at least been telling dude, man, let me give you 3,000 to walk me to the door. To take me over there and personally introduce me to guarantee my safety,
right.
because without those kind of measures, there's no guarantee of your safety.
Yeah.
So when I see the way this guy walks around and he tries to sell this cocaine, I'm like, ooh wee, this is amazing.
So before we get into what happens in Oakland when they get there, we're seeing Oso and Lucia. Okay, they brought the kilos over to the Mexicans. They got their money. They're back home celebrating, taking shots, and of course, they end up, getting it in. Pedro shows up and peeps what's going on and dips out of there, so they don't know he saw them or heard them. But so their relationship is growing, into something obviously personal as well as business. So I was thinking of talking a little bit about that, like, mixing personal and business. Did that happen to
All
you
the
and your?
time.
Yeah.
That happens all the time, especially with me. I didn't mind being personal with the people that I work with. Um, I found out it's sometimes it's better and safer. If the person that you're working with really has a genuine affection for you as a person outside of the money, it makes it a little better. And it can cause problems as well. Uh, but when you got people who really understand the streets, and they understand the street code, one thing that we don't do is we don't bring the police in our business. No matter what happens, the police stay out of it. Um, it usually works pretty well.
Now, how about with women? Like, did you have um, a lot of women just kind of coming at you, obviously, because they know about your money and how much you got going on? Um,
They did. When when you figure when you in South Central, especially during this time, the average person with a great job in South Central at that time made about $300 or $400 a week, and I'm talking about that was like considered a great job. If I would have got one of those jobs, I never would have been selling dope, right? So now you're talking about somebody that's just at the low stage is making 10,000 a week. With no job, no kids, no responsibility, just $10,000 just coming in every single week. Uh, Women take notice of that. One of the most things that I found out about most women is they're looking for security first and foremost. If you can offer a woman security, uh, she'll take you if you're a little ugly. Um, I was telling some of my friends a joke one time. It was this young lady. She was dancing on Soul Train. I'm talking about drop dead gorgeous chick, and one of my partners. Um, we used to call him Stanky, because he didn't bathe.
oh man, what's going on with
But
Stanky?
he got rich.
Yeah.
He got rich enough that he had the slant nose Porsche turbo. Uh, he had the big body Benz. He had the toys. Well, and he had her riding around with him. So when you see that, you like, for that security and for that money, women to do. Because I rode in the car with him one time, and I said I never ride in there with him again. I had to let my window down, stick my head out the window.
Oh my God, where's the air freshener?
Yeah, but women would just get in there and ride with him,
Yeah,
as if they couldn't smell it, So when you're talking about women and attraction of wealth, women are attracted by wealth. Uh, different things. Brilliance and selling drugs is a form of being brilliant. In my personal opinion, I used to didn't think so, but now that I'm older and wiser, and I sit back and I watch these young guys and what they do, and I understand the brilliance in their trade.
yeah. So they take the road trip to Oakland. Kevin's cousin is supposedly the man up there. So Franklin and Leon and Kevin take the road trip. They pull up to this kind of after hours spot late at night, kind of a rough looking spot. Um, and they go in, they're a little nervous. They got these 2 kilos in the backpack, and you know, but Kev says, "Don't worry, this is my family. We'll be good." So they go on in there, but they meet his cousin. Who's played by someone that you know.
That's my man, Red Grant.
Yes. We got a couple cameos in this episode. But yeah, let's talk about Red, who pops up as the cousin in Oakland. Um, how long you been knowing Red?
Well, I met Red a couple weeks after I was out. One of my guys talked me into going to a comedy show in North Hollywood. And when I got there, Red Grant was the host, and I just fell in love with his comedy. He was marking the rappers. He was rapping the rapper song about selling cocaine and blah blah blah. And then when he saw me in the audience, I mean, it just it was like bam, like connection. We just hooked up from that day on, man, and uh, we've been rocking. Even it's been times. I gave him a few of my T-shirts when my T-shirt first came out, and I come into. He was hosting the Laugh Factory in Hollywood one day, and I walk in, and he got on my T-shirt, and him and Cat Williams, Cat bought about 50 books, gave everybody in the building a book, and we just been rocking ever since, man. I tried to get him today. He didn't pick up the phone. He's running for mayor in DC, so probably got a busy schedule right now, trying to become the mayor of DC.
Oh, I
But I
didn't know
definitely
that.
would love to get him on the show and
Yeah,
have him sit down with us and just tell us a little bit about what he thought about the show.
yeah. Shout out to Red Grant, man. And I didn't know he was running for mayor. So yeah, that's big.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Running for the mayor. So when I saw him in the show, it really surprised me because I didn't know. I haven't paid any attention to this show before.
right,
Before you brought me on board with this here. I had totally been boycotting the show. I didn't want to know who played what role. I don't want to know who directed. I don't want to know
right,
who wrote. I didn't want to have nothing to do with this show, man.
right.
Uh, but now, that I'm watching and I'm seeing people that I know on there, it's kind of yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So this place, they're waiting around. The cousin is waiting for his guy, Little Joe, and there's a lot of wild stuff going on. They want to party. Kev wants to, Franklin sees Kev taking a little bit of the coke. He's telling me he wants to, play around with some of these chicks, and Franklin's getting frustrated. He's there. He wants to try to do business, and
Yeah, Franklin
event
want to just do business and leave.
right. He
He
doesn't
trying to
want
sell his coke and get out of there,
right. He didn't
which I
want
don't
no
blame him.
right. Yeah. he didn't want no parts of all the dice games and all the other activities going on at the spot. So he ends up just rolling out. And there he
Well,
is.
before that though, remember the big chick? She tries to get the backpack from him,
Oh yes, he did run up on him.
and he's like, "What's with that backpack?"
Right.
You know.
I mean,
But
I'm
you know what's
surprised.
crazy? What's crazy? And I just popped in my head. Man, people wasn't even carrying backpacks back in the
Right,
80s.
right, right. I don't remember that either. Like
Man, nobody
backpacks.
wasn't wearing backpacks back then. That's backpacks is a kind of a new thing. Uh,
Right. But
so
there he goes, man. Off and running, just walking the streets of Oakland in the middle of the night with his backpack of 2 kilos, walking all over the place.
and then he winds up in a vacant building,
Right.
and
And
he follows a chick through the building, not knowing. I done been to some vacant places, because I like to buy, houses and buildings like that, and refurbish them and stuff. But I'm always a little cautious about going into places where there's homeless people at,
mhm.
because you never know what you might run into.
Right.
Um, I don't went into the homeless places and one of them got a gun.
Yeah.
So to see him venturing off the way, like I told you earlier, either his heart is this ginormous or he's a total idiot or naive about the ways of the world and the ways of this drug trafficking business that he's
Yeah.
venturing into.
Right. But to his credit, he kind of says that later on in the episode when he hooks up with the RZA, one of the other cameos in this episode. He says something like, maybe I'm just crazy, but I gotta learn about this. So before he gets to the RZA, he's in the vacant building, abandoned building that turns out to be the former one of the former Black Panther headquarters in Oakland because he remembers the place, or at least he thinks it's the same place. And he's having memories of visiting his dad up there, and
The
all his
flashbacks. He was having the
flashbacks.
flashbacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean
um,
that part was cool, but it still doesn't neglect how naive he is to be walking around with 2 kilos of cocaine in a backpack. You talking about mid '80s, easily 50, $60,000 worth of dope. I know in there they were saying he was getting them for 16,000 a kilo at one time, but
right,
um, that's a low price, and that's a price that somebody probably buying 100 kilos would get.
right.
When I started getting them for 16, I had to be buying at least 100 kilos, maybe 150 kilos at a time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was only buying one and two, they was like $48,000 a
Mm-hmm.
piece.
Yeah, yeah,
So you talking about he's walking around with a lot of dope. And
yeah.
I don't know, if I would have been going to a new place like that, I would have took what we call a sample, maybe a couple ounces out,
Right.
something that I could afford to
To
lose
lose.
or to
Yeah,
give away.
yeah,
So
yeah. So, he's running around and he meets this lady. She's smoking a crack, like a crack pipe, um, or freebasing maybe. I'm not sure what it was. Um, but he's like, man, I never seen nothing like this before. Where'd you get that? And he has her take him to her dealer, and he buys all the dealer's stock of the crack rock. When he runs up on the dealer's like, rock. It's rocked up. It's cocaine. It's rocked up. And Franklin's like, oh man, what is that? And then he convinces the dealer to take him to the guy that actually makes the crack rock, which
well,
turns out to
in,
be
in
the
a
RZA.
couple of those scenes, what he did was normal. What could happen in that type of incident. Another point I want to make is that back then nobody was using cigarette lighters to smoke. crack with. Everybody was using a ROM 151. That's how they smoked their cocaine. So they got their timing off a little bit. It's like they went from the 90s and brought it back to the 80s.
Mm.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
They started smoking with cigarette lighters, and that's when it really got bad. When people were really like, didn't have time, they didn't want to wait to get their rum, because when they smoke it with the rum 151, they get a cleaner taste, from what I've been told. I never tried it either way, but what I was told is that when you smoke it with the rum 151, the taste is cleaner and it's more pure. With that cigarette lighter, uh, they were saying there's something about the taste that wasn't there. So they jumped ahead of themselves, when they implemented the cigarette lighters in there. But when he offers the lady, to buy her a rock to go and meet her connect, that's something that definitely happens in the drug business all the time.
Mm-hmm. So he ends up in some kind of laboratory room with the RZA, who's playing on an old piano and talking a bunch of shit. And, Franklin is trying to convince him to teach him what he's doing. And of course, he opens the backpack up, shows him the two keys. That's when he's like, I might be taking a big risk, doing this, but it's worth it. I got stuff I'm trying to do. I need to know what this is. And he says, I look at you as an artist. You're, creating something. And, artists like to have their creations and their visions spread to the world. So, I'm going to be the guy that can take your creation and spread it down to LA and so on. That's his pitch to the RZA. And the RZA goes for it. He decides to
Right,
teach him how
right.
to make the crack rock.
Yeah, right, for free.
For free. For free. Just because Franklin was a nice guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for free, man. I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy, man. They charged me so much to teach me how to cook, man. I paid one guy like 80,000, 75,000, and I paid another guy about 65,000, and I paid another guy like 30,000 to eventually, get different recipes. My initial learning how to cook it up, just straight cocaine. I should pay guys $200, $300, to cook it up for me, but never free.
Right. So, but this is the big question that I have, which is, where did crack originate? Was it in Oakland? And how did you first learn about it, and where, and how to make it? That's a big question that a lot of people
well,
want to know.
a lot of people been trying to. I mean, Gary Webb tried to figure that out. Michael Levine, he tried to figure it out. Said that he had the answer, that it come from um, one of the Colombian countries. But I don't think nobody really knows the exact answer to that question, because it spread it so far and so fast. Now, L.A., we were the biggest crack era, area in the beginning of the epidemic, but that don't mean that it started here. It could have started somewhere else. Just it caught fire here faster than it did in Oakland. I'm not for sure.
Okay. So you didn't go to Oakland and find out about it.
No, no, no. They were already doing it when I started. They had already, like I said, they had been ether basing for a while.
Okay.
When I got started, Richard Pryor and a bunch of other people had been what they call ether basing. Now, when I got there, they had just started playing around with cooking it with baking soda and it was something else they used to put in it. What was that called? It was something else they used to put in it that would make it rock, but it gave it a nastier taste than the baking soda.
Hmm.
So it was already there, but like I said, it was just a few people doing it. When I got started, it was really the elite that was really fee basing. It wasn't, it wasn't the everyday person. The everyday person couldn't afford it. Remember, I told you when I first started, a gram of cocaine was about 325, $350 for 1 gram.
Yeah. So what
So
was the first time you saw a crack rock? Because there's the freebasing, but at some point it transitions to the crack rocks. Um, when was the first
I
time
saw
and
I saw
where?
rock almost immediately, almost the same time I saw cocaine. My
Mm,
boy gave me the cocaine, I took it, and a day or so, I was with Martin and he was cooking that shit up. He was
mm.
turning into rock.
Okay, so
So,
Martin was somebody he already knew how to do that.
yeah, 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 yeah. Martin was a pimp. Martin was he was one of the big homies, but he was a pimp, and I guess you could say he was my first customer.
Hmm.
He was my very first customer, even though he didn't pay me for the rock that the bag that I gave him. He brought Big Mouse back to me, and that was what kicked my business off. Had he not brought Big Mouse to me, I don't know if I would have ever been a cocaine dealer.
So now who's Big Mouse?
Big Mouse was he ran with Tookie and Jamel, big swole dude, had about some 22, 23-inch arms, was a crip, a pimping crip. Remember, the only people that could afford it at this time was like people who were getting some real
Money.
money. You
Yeah.
know, you couldn't be no chump smoking cocaine.
Right.
So Mouse was a pimp or a halfway pimp. Just like Martin was. But they was playing with cocaine. 'Cause nobody really knew at that time that it was addictive. You know, it wasn't. They wasn't selling their cars. They wasn't taking off their jewelry. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that at that time. This is like, you know, they hit it tonight. At the end of the night they hit it. Maybe tomorrow. More or less like that. Not like it became. Martin and Mouse eventually became addicts. Where they no longer was pimping, and all they wanted to do was stand on the block and hustle rocks for the young boys.
Oh man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Um,
so it really broke them down.
so how quickly did you kind of see your business transforming from just the coke you were selling at first to really the crack? And was it the crack that really helped expand it to a much bigger business for you?
Yeah, well, what happened is I had been selling the coke, but I didn't know how to cook it. So what they would do is they would cook it for themselves. But what happened is I peeped a game that people would come by my house at 6 in the morning and they wanted to get a blast before they go to work. So some of them would be like, "Oh man, I left my utensils at the house." They cooking utensils because they used to
Mm-hmm.
cook it up right in their car with 151 rum. They would actually take a torch and they would be in their car cooking, rocking the coke because they you could rock it up with the rum too. The 151 rum was like a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? They probably made so much money off the cocaine business.
Mm-hmm.
Like another one of those ancillary companies that benefited, just like baking soda.
Right.
Baking soda benefited from the coke game. So people would be sitting in their car at 6 in the morning cooking up cocaine. So what came to my mind is why not already have it cooked for them? And that's when we started the term ready rocked, meaning that it's already rocked up. You ain't got to rock it up. All
Mm-hmm.
you got to do is store it on your pipe. So once we did that, the business really started picking up because, some people still didn't know how to cook. And a lot of people were scared to cook it because they were scared of messing it up. You know, it
Hmm.
was a thing where people, like when I first started, they had me believing that if I tried to cook it and I didn't know what I was doing, I could just run the whole cocaine where it would just evaporate and be gone.
Oh man, yeah, they didn't want you figuring it out. Um,
Right. They didn't want they wanted you to keep paying them to do it. You know,
right,
that's how they made their little $200 or
right,
$300.
right, right. Interesting. Well, yeah, I think overall this is the best part of this episode because it's kind of a slow episode. It's not a lot of real action that happens. There's a lot. He spends a lot of time with the RZA and learning how to, make the rock and all the RZA's telling them all this stuff. Shout out to the RZA, man. Another good look for hip hop in the show. Of course, RZA's been doing his thing in the acting world for a long time, not just the music. Um, so shout out to RZA. Have you ever met RZA? Any of the Wu Tang?
Yep, I met RZA. It was some years ago when I met RZA.
Uh,
We were at some movie production company,
okay.
and me and him, we spoke a few words. Yeah, Mecca. I'm mostly cool with Mecca and Redman though. You know, they're my
Yeah,
boys. You know, they both in the cannabis industry too. So
that's right.
everywhere I run into Mecca though, he showed mad love. I ran into Mecca in Oregon at a festival, and we went back to the hotel and we bought some champagne bottles and just kicked back, man, and had a good time. Last time I saw Redman, though, we spoke at a college in New Jersey. Uh,
Okay.
um, I can't even think of the name of it. Might have been Auburn University, Auburn or something like that university. But we
Okay.
spoke on the same panel uh, back there. So yeah, I know a few of the
Man,
Wu Tang.
shout out Redman. Shout out Newark, his
Yes,
hometown.
yes.
But yeah, man.
And
So
talking about them, you know, I was with Gazelda. You know, I was on stage with Gazelda about a week and a half ago. You know, Gazelda had me on stage with my man Jay Worthy, and to me, they remind me of Wu Tang.
right. Yeah, they do. They do have a lot of, influence from Wu Tang and especially Raekwon, Ghostface, and they show love. They've talked about that. But yeah, Griselda's, they're doing their thing, really bringing, another element into hip hop, at a high level. They've really been the driving force of like bringing some of that kind of classic hip hop feel, back into the current day music. All
Yeah,
that those guys from Buffalo.
sold out crowd. I mean, it was jam packed in there, man. No
Yeah,
space, nowhere.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, I met Raekwon too. Me and Raekwon, we cool too.
The chef.
Yeah,
Shout
I
out.
forgot about Ray. You know, it'd be
Yeah,
so many people, man, that you can't remember them all.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think we can wrap up this week, man. And we'll be back next week. Um, like I said, this episode, that was really the main thing that ends with Franklin coming back with a bag of crack rock all cooked up. He's all excited about it, but Leon and Kev are pissed at him because he wasn't there when the big man showed up, and they don't understand it. He said, "Look, this is our future right here," and they get on the
He got
road.
it. He
Yeah,
got it. He's saying he
uh-huh.
got it.
Exactly.
He don't need the big
Exactly.
man. He the big
Exactly.
man now. RZA gave it up for free.
Exactly.
No deal in
Exactly.
place.
Yeah. So any last thoughts before we sign off, Rick?
Well, you know, I'm anxious to see where they go from here. You know, we see them in the projects giving out free rocks. You know
Yeah.
that. I was wondering how much did they give out? Did they give away the whole 2 keys? You know,
Uh-huh.
um, but I see them in the projects giving out the free rocks. Um, yeah, you know, to a certain extent, that's something that could happen. You know, when you give out samples to get people started.
Yeah.
Uh, But I'm interested to see where it goes from here. You know how well the writers are familiar with the drug culture, um, as well as South Central LA.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we know you know that stuff better than anyone. When it comes to South Central LA in the '80s. So, man, just glad to have you doing this podcast and bringing that knowledge and expertise to the world. And I hope and I'm sure that our fans, our listeners, and our viewers appreciate it and appreciate you as well.
Well, sometimes you need some eyes of somebody who's been there so they can catch the things that these writers are not really paying attention to. It's very easy to add a cigarette lighter to a time, that there was no cigarette lighters and people will just let it go by, but that was really an intricate part of the game, because I remember precisely around the time that people started using cigarette lighters, you
Hmm.
know. So uh, I just like catching things like that, and try to bring them to everybody's attention so everybody go, oh yeah, you're right. Wasn't nobody having no cigarette lighters during that time. They wasn't using cigarette lighters during that time. So it's very important that we keep the history, and don't rewrite it.
That's right. That's right. So this is after the snow. This is the Snowfall after show podcast, and we're doing season 1 of Snowfall right now. So we'll be back next week talking about episode 8. But thank everybody for checking us out, and much love.
Peace.
Peace.